Mr. Speaker, members, this amendment has two parts. This amendment will ensure that there is at least a bare minimum of time for the public to view any redistricting proposals before they are considered in committee. Specifically, this amendment requires the bill layout no less than 240 hours, or 10 days. In comparison, the state budget requires 144 hours, and the sunset bills require 24 hours. In the 2017 case, Bettis versus Abbott, a panel of federal court judges found intentional discrimination in the 2011 redistricting process, highlighting the following problems with that process. The exclusion of minority member and public input despite the minority population growth, the misleading information, the secrecy and closed process, and the rushed process. In 2019, the same panel of judges stated, given the record produced in 2011, the state must implement a process that by any reasonable definition is fair and open. The most fundamental basic component of a fair and open process is the ability of the public to view and comment on map proposals. 1 or 2 days notice is nowhere near enough time. These are incredibly complex bills. It's not simply a matter of looking at it once and knowing what effect it's going to have. There are multiple layers of demographic, geographic, and political data that Texans need to consider when determining whether they support or oppose a particular district lines. A critical component of public commentary is the ability to propose alternative district lines. This requires not only analyzing the current maps, but then even more time-consuming process of analyzing possible changes to those maps and determining if they fix the problem and themselves comply with state and federal law. Many of us have some experience with this process and know how intensive it is. To determine the compliance with the Voting Rights Act, people need to be able to look at a past voting history and how it will affect future performance. Even with new technology, this is an incredibly time-consuming process to make sure the data is accurate and lines up with the correct parts of the map. It is also critical that the time period for notice starts from when the map shape files themselves are available to the public. The actual language of a redistricting bill is incomprehensible to the general public without an accompanying map file where they can view the effects of the proposal. Most organizations recommend 2 to 3 weeks of notice for communities and individuals to actually be able to fully digest a map proposal, prepare alternatives, and write testimony. Even if this body isn't able to ensure that time frame, there needs to be some minimum assurance that members and the public will at least have time to digest the maps that will determine democratic representation for the next decade, having their only meaningful opportunity to comment on them. Oh, move adoption.
The chair recognizes Mr. Hunter to speak in opposition to the amendment.
Again, in respect to my colleague, this deals with redistricting, which is legal, and I request you vote no.
The chair recognizes Ms. Morales to close on the amendment.
Okay. Yeah, I move adoption.
The question occurs on adoption of the amendment. This is a record vote. Clerk ring the bell. Show Ms. Morales voting aye. Ms. Niave Criado voting aye. Show Mr. Hunter voting nay. All members voting. There being 64 ayes and 85 nays, the amendment fails to adopt.